My little boy, he's very human-like. Now, I don't know whether that's got anything to do with his upbringing or whether he's very spoilt. But on a day like today, he barely wants to come out. In actual fact, he won't come out unless he's starving. And all the other squirrels, they're foraging around and they're scratching at the remnants of the birdseed, whatever they can get. He is up in his house and he's all nice and snug. And even when I put food on his little tray, he's very reluctant to come down and get it. He comes down, he'll put a couple in his mouth, and then he'll go and eat them in his house. Well, I mean, that's a privilege that he is afforded. Now, there he is. Little cute face popping out, huh? And one thing, right, the other squirrels are going to come and take those if you don't come down and snap those up. It's your choice, right? I'm not standing here all day like an idiot. Sometimes you just got to come out, get a bit wet. Yeah? What do you reckon? Can't be bothered. I'm a bit worried about that tree because in a strong wind, I reckon it'll be down. And so will my little boy's house. It's really bending and leaning a lot. Anyway, I'll see you later, yeah? I've got the supermarket run. More, not really desperately got to go to the supermarket, but just gonna get out, you know. I've been busy editing for the past 4 hours, and there's only so much of that stuff you can do. So I've got a couple of things that I'm going to be speaking about, which are relative to how fed up I get, you know, with the lack of response and intelligent conversations and engagement. So, two things. I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and the particular title of the video caught my attention, and it was basically America's fucked. And this video, I'll post it in the comments down below, along with the other one from Ian McGilchrist. So in this video, Tyson is doing a lecture with you know, a screen, and he's pulling up slides of the most stupid and idiotic things that have been said by institutions which should know better. The grammar is absolutely despicable, and the thing is not only that, what Tyson said is, it's not the fact that whoever compiled this is illiterate, but the whole line of process that he actually went through before it was posted live. I mean, this was on a poster, so, you know, it was the creator of the poster, it was the editor or vetter of the poster, it was the printing people of the poster. It was completely illiterate. Shocking. And so Tyson in this video has got about 20 reasons why American people should be really, really worried. I'm basically saying because nobody gives a fuck anymore. Nobody gives a fuck. The education in America is shocking. The attitude towards education and anything is shocking. You know, people are just lost, hypnotized by their little prisons that they carry around in their pockets. This isn't the most optimal doing this, so let me try like this. And so another video was from Ian McGilchrist, and he is he's a doctor. I think he's a psychiatrist by profession, but he's also, well, they call him oh, Oh, they're calling me something, a path. And then, hang on, let me think about this. It's something with path in it, which means that his knowledge is very broad over many subjects. And so, whatever that word is, that's just slipped my mind and making me look like I'm a cunt. So, he's wrote 2 books. The first book took him 10 years, the second year, the book took him 20 years, really, because it led from the first book, all the knowledge that he's gleaned. The first book, The Master and His Emissary, is a book I've often quoted, and I read it myself. It's on my bookshelf, and what he basically speaks about is that there is still a large difference between the left and the right hemisphere. And what he's saying about the Master and his emissary, the Master is consciousness and the emissary is the ego. But in lots of people, they aren't conscious, they're unconscious, and they operate automated, and they don't know that there is a master and the emissary. They don't even question whether there is either. They are so embroiled in their ego. They don't even question whether the ego is a thing, whether it really is autonomous, whether it's intelligent, whether it's a facet of our consciousness. They don't question it. They never ever stop to question what the fuck is the ego, the operating system of the human being. And it isn't until we become very enlightened or awoken that we even start to consider these things. And the first thing that we do when we become awoken is we realise that the ego is a fiction. It's just the operating system, and it thinks it would very much like to be the be-all and the end of this human experience. And for the vast majority of people it is. Because what happens is, when we become awoken and we realise that the ego is just the operating system, we begin then to close it down, or we minimise its autonomy. We oversee it, we usurp it. Spirit, the higher level of consciousness, usurps the lower level, which is the basic instinctual know-it-all ego. And the ego is a Freudian term coined in the early 1900s, which just means the it, because even he, in his infinite wisdom, couldn't have thought of anything better to call it. Now, what I'm speculating is that sooner or later, somebody has to coin a word that is more befitting than the it, because nobody knows what ego is. And if you ask any man in the street, what is the ego? Oh, that's where someone thinks they're great, or someone thinks they're better than other people. No, 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 no. That is not what the ego is. That is just a very, very minuscule part of the ego. And that's all the man in the street, the muppet, the muggle, is aware of. And so, both Tyson and McGilchrist are emphatic that the world is slumping into degeneration. And one thing that McGilchrist was emphatic in imparting in CERN, he's in CERN, ladies and gentlemen, in Switzerland, and he's imparting to people that are supposed to be highly intelligent, and he's saying, look, people, I know you're scientists and this, that and the other, but for goodness sake, it is really overdue that you start to include consciousness in all of your inquiries. Because, you know, this observer effect has been known for a long, long time. That the observer changes the reality. You know, the observer thing is premised in the double slit experiment, where about 1905, physicists discovered that when they observed photons as particles, when they observed, let's just say, the phenomena of photons, because up until that point it was speculated whether photons were a wave function or a particle, and even Einstein had a problem. He said they can't be both, when in actual fact they are both. And it turns out that photons are wave function. They are a probability. They're nothing more than a probability, which is consciousness itself thinking of what it's going to become. When an individuated shard of consciousness observes photons in a waveform, they then transform into a particle and they become what we know as physical matter. So what that experiment is saying, suggesting that the fundamental premise of the universe is conscious, and it is light, photons, or wave function. Wave function, light in a wave function, which hasn't decided what particle is going to collapse into being. And so I've just spent an hour, because I'm editing my book and I'm putting a lot of additions in, and I just spent an hour looking into the hypothesis that many scientists have about consciousness. And the reason why I'm broaching this part in my book is because all through my book I have been conveying my own conscious subjective experience, which nobody else on the planet could share. And when I try to explain my experiences, I find it immensely difficult to put it into words to convey to the next man, because if the next man hasn't experienced what I am speaking about, then how could the next man perceive wholly what I'm saying? And so it gets back to the, you know, how can you explain chocolate to an Eskimo? But you know, these days I'm pretty sure the Eskimos have all got Mars bars and bars of Cadbury's chocolate in their little igloo freezer, because they don't live like they used to. And so in my book I'm writing about my spiritual experience, my subjective conscious experience. And then when you look at what scientists think of consciousness, then you come upon the same issue that I'm having. How do I explain it? How can I concretize it? God, this is so not practical. You know, I've always maintained that the human being needs another hand. Oh, for fuck's sake. And eventually we'll grow a fucker. If evolution is a thing, we will grow another fucking hand, because two hands is really inadequate. We probably need to be more like octopus. We need to have a whole bunch of fucking hands, because two is highly impractical. So you've heard it here first. At some stage, scientists are going to start speculating, oh, wouldn't it be useful if we had a third hand? And scientists have now discovered how to put a third appendage on the human being. And where the fuck this third hand's going to come from is anyone's guess. But I'll leave that up to future speculation. So McGilchrist and Tyson, they are both bewildered. And not only them, you can listen to people like Jordan Peterson speaking to any intellectual, but there's one in particular. Can't think of his name either now. But they're saying like, where are the thinking people gone? There are no thinking people anymore. There are no rational premise people. The people that now are populating the earth are emotional. Everything stems from their emotions. And they seem to think that whatever their emotion is what the world should address. And this is why when we watch these postmodernists, which usually consist of butch lesbian women with green hair and tattoos, throwing tantrums because they can't get their own way, and they just scream hysterically, a bit like a Karen, screaming hysterically because the world just isn't like they want it to be, and it's just ridiculous. And so, when I'm looking for people to have some sort of allegiance with, how far do I have to go? I have to go to speculated geniuses, to very, very renowned, clever people who have been in professions for many, many years, and they have wrote, at least one or two very significant books. And Tyson has just announced that he's wrote his book, and I don't know whether it's the first or what, probably not, but this one I think is on psychological lines. He's asking questions. What the fuck's going on? And he's obviously shocked, disappointed and very concerned with the state of people's education. And he quoted one person from Congress. Now, I've spoken about people from Congress before. There's a very large portion of them who are African American, and every single one of those seems to be a devout Christian. And I actually heard it say by an African American woman who was the overseer of Congress. She was the one that had the power to bang the hammer on the table when she considered that enough was enough. And she said, I'm a big Bible person. I'm a big Bible person. Now, same thing, I'm a big Bible person. She couldn't even use words like, I'm a great adherent of biblical scripture. I'm a big Bible person. These people are thick as shit, people. And it's for a very good reason. Because the powers that be don't want anybody that comes close to their intelligence. Because they run the world, Congress and government do not. They come very, very low in the hierarchical system. And so when we've got fools like that in Congress and in government, well, you can imagine what the rest of the state of the country is in. I'm a big Bible person. And so when you've got these people who believe that everything in the Bible is the Word of God, and they are in actual fact ruling their country, they have power and jurisdiction over law, well, can you imagine what laws are going to be implemented? There was another one of these questions which Neil deGrasse Tyson was posing, or rather it was a survey that had been conducted, and the survey was asking about 30 countries. It was a general survey of the whole population, what their opinion was on evolution. And America was bottom from last in thinking that evolution was a thing. So America are still steeped in the dark ages, considering that Jehovah created the cosmos. And I'm an adherent of the cosmos being spiritual. I'm most certainly not adherent that Jehovah did it, and it's got anything to do with that stupid book called the Bible. That's just a serving suggestion for ignorant, stupid people 2,000 years ago who didn't know their arm from their arsehole as far as human psychology is concerned. And so, as I've said, the Bible is the first attempt at cognitive behavioural therapy for the masses. And so, I've come to the part now where I need to put the camera away. And so maybe I will continue a conversation similar to this when I come out.